everyone, and welcome back to another episode of E-commerce Clearly. Today, we're talking about a category that is actually quite personal to me because it's one of those categories I've spent the most time working in: health and wellness. And after years of working with so many brands in this space and watching the category evolve over the years, I can genuinely say that this is one of those categories that made me more optimistic about the future of Indian e-commerce. Because when you look at the health and wellness category today, it's not just about protein powders or supplements anymore. The category is expanding and booming. Consumer behavior is changing. The way people discover these products is changing, and even the way these brands are being built is changing. And that's exactly what I want to unpack in today's episode. So, we are going to look at what's really happening in India's health and wellness market, how we got here, how the channels are changing, why FMCG giants are buying these brands, and most importantly, where I think the opportunity is going forward. So let's get into it. First, what do we actually mean by health and wellness? I think this is probably the first thing we need to clarify, because when we say health and wellness, we tend to think of it as one category, but it really isn't. You have protein and sports nutrition, you have vitamins and nutraceuticals, you have electrolytes and hydration, you have healthy snacking and functional foods, you have Ayurveda, gut health, sleep, women's wellness, men's wellness, breakfast and oats, and increasingly even products in the broader pantry and personal care space are entering this wellness conversation. And here's the important part: a 3000 rupee tub of protein is a very different purchase from a rupee 40 electrolyte sachet. One is researched and the other can be impulsive. One might be bought every 6 weeks, the other could be bought because you just finished a workout and suddenly realized you need hydration. So, if you're a founder entering this category, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is simply saying, I'm building a health and wellness brand, because that's not specific enough. You need to know which part of the health and wellness industry you are actually building for, because that determines your consumer pricing, channel, margins, and growth strategy. So, how did we get here? India didn't really build a modern health and wellness market from scratch, to be honest. A lot of the initial category creation came from international brands. Think Optimum Nutrition, MyProtein, and other global sports nutrition players. They taught Indian consumers what this category looked like. They created awareness around things like whey isolate versus concentrate. They created the post workout nutrition habit. They created the willingness to spend rupees 3000 plus on a tub of protein. And then Indian brands came in and did what Indian brands do really well. They localized the category, they localized the pricing, they localized the taste, they created new formats, they built deeper local distribution. Brands like Muscle Blaze made sports and nutrition much more accessible, while Fast Enough helped build a market for effervescent nutrition. And then this pattern started repeating across all other parts of wellness as well. Foreign brands created the demand, Indian brands localized it, and then the category expanded beyond the initial customer base. And that's a really important pattern when you're looking at the Indian consumer businesses, because once a category moves from niche to mainstream, the opportunity becomes significantly larger. And that's exactly what we are seeing now. The Indian consumer is becoming much more proactive about health. It's no longer just I am sick, so I need medicine. It's increasingly about how do I prevent this? How do I sleep better? How do I improve my own gut health? How do I get enough protein? How do I stay hydrated? How do I make my everyday food healthier? That shift from reactive health to preventive wellness is one of the biggest structural tailwinds behind this category. And that's why I don't look at this as just another consumer trend. I think it's a much longer term change in behavior. But here's where things really get interesting. The product isn't the only thing changing. The way we buy these products is changing too. And this is something I've actually seen in my own behavior. For the longest time, even if I was using the same protein powder every day, I'd know roughly when I was going to finish. So I'd hop onto the D2C website or Amazon, order it in advance, and make sure the next stub arrived before the current one ended. very planned, very predictable. But now I started doing the exact opposite. I wait. I wait until I'm literally scooping the last scoop of protein powder into my drink, and then I open quick commerce and order it because I know I can have it delivered almost immediately. And that sounds like a tiny behavioral change, but from an e-commerce perspective, it's actually a massive one. A purchase that used to happen days in advance has become last minute moment of need purchase, and that is exactly what quick commerce is changing in India. The research we put together shows that on Blinkit and Instamart, more than 60% of purchases come from homepage merchandising rather than search. So the consumer isn't necessarily looking for your product, the platform is showing it to them, and suddenly health and wellness starts behaving much more like everyday consumer goods. So now we have two different buying journeys, very different ones. You have your planned purchase, protein, supplements, monthly wellness routines. These need trust, reviews, reputations, and reorder convenience. And then you have unplanned purchase, electrolytes, protein bars, single serve products, functional drinks, and these are much more suited to quick commerce. Lower price points, smaller packs, higher visibility, strong merchandising. The report essentially shows this bifurcation very clearly, and I think this is going to become increasingly important because one hero product may not be enough anymore. Your rupees 3000 tub can be your marketplace and D2C product, but you might need a smaller, sharper priced SKU for quick commerce. Same brand, different consumer movement, and different product strategy. Which brings me to the role of each channel. This is probably the simplest framework from this entire research. Marketplace is where you build your proof. Quick commerce is where you build discovery. And D2C is where you build your ownership. And offline is where you build scale and trust. Health and wellness is a very trust heavy category. You're putting something in your body often every single day. So if I'm a new brand, I want reviews, I want ratings, I want documented order history, I want proof that people are actually buying and using my product. And that's why marketplace becomes so important in the beginning. You're essentially manufacturing proof, and that proof then becomes useful beyond the marketplace for quick commerce, offline retail, and eventually even potential investors or acquirers. Then comes quick commerce, and quick commerce is a completely different game. You're not just competing for search rankings anymore. You're competing for merchandising. You're competing for that homepage slot. You're competing to be visible when someone didn't even intend to buy your product. That's why pack size, pricing, shelf life, and velocity becomes so important. So I don't think the question is should my health and wellness brand be on quick commerce. The better question is which part of my portfolio should be built for quick commerce, especially because the answer might not be your entire range. And then we have D2C. D2C almost gets misunderstood quite often. People assume it means I'm going to build my own website and run meta ads. But for health and wellness brands, I think its bigger value is ownership. You own the customer relationship, you own the data, you can build subscriptions, you can create repeat purchase behavior, you can move customers up an AOV ladder. So, the way I think about it is use marketplace to prove demand, use quick commerce to drive discovery, use D2C to own the customer, and eventually use offline to scale distribution. And then there's the FMCG elephant in the room. If you've been following Indian consumer businesses, you've probably noticed how many large companies are buying D2C brands. We discussed this in the last episode as well. HULNO, Ziva, ITC, and Yoga Bar, Marico, and brands like Cosmic, Plix, and True Elements. And this isn't happening randomly. Large FMCG companies have realized that building a new age wellness brand internally can take years. but hundreds of D2C founders are already doing the experimentation. They are figuring out what consumers want, what price they'll pay, which formats work, and what actually gets repeat purchases. So the D2C ecosystem is almost functioning as an outsourced R&D lab for FMCG. The founders take the experimentation risk, the market validates the winners, and the large companies bring what those founders don't have: distribution. The research points to nearly 70% of acquisitions by large FMCG companies over the past 5 years being in the D2C space, with acquired digital brand portfolios crossing rupees 2000 crore in FY 2026 in revenue. And I think this is one of the most interesting things happening in Indian e-commerce right now. Building to be acquired is no longer necessarily a fallback. For some founders, it can actually be a part of the strategy. So, where does that leave a new founder? If I was starting a health and wellness brand today, I wouldn't start with what supplements should I launch. I'd rather start with which consumer problem am I solving and which shelf am I building for. Then I'd work backwards. What's the purchase behavior? Planned or unplanned? What's the hero channel? Do I need a quick commerce specific SKU? What does repeat purchases look like? Can I build a subscription? What role does D2C play? When does offline make sense? And ultimately, what asset am I building that someone else would want? Because the mistake I see founders making is trying to be everywhere at once. Amazon, Blinkit, Zepto, D2C, modern trade, pharmacy, everything. But this category actually rewards sequencing. The roadmap is choose your shelf, prove demand on marketplace, win discovery through quick commerce, own the customer through D2C, earn the offline shelf, and design your end game. And finally, why am I so bullish on this category? This is where I want to bring it back to my experience. I worked with a few brands in this category, and one thing I've repeatedly seen is how quickly the consumer is changing. And that's what makes me excited about the e commerce as an industry, because e-commerce isn't just about shifting existing retail transactions online anymore. It's increasingly about creating new consumption behavior. A consumer who wasn't buying a particular wellness product 5 years ago might now have a monthly wellness routine. A product that was once a niche gym product can become an everyday food format. Something that required research and planning can become quick commerce impulse purchase, and a brand that started online can eventually end up on pharmacy shelves across the country. That's a pretty powerful evolution. The broader wellness market is projected to move from $164 billion in 2025 towards $258 billion by 2034, while the nutraceutical market is already growing at double digits. And I don't think the interesting part is just the size of that number, it's how much of that market is still being shaped. The channels are still evolving, consumer behavior is still changing, new categories are still being created, and there is still room for new Indian brands to build something meaningful. So, if you're building in health and wellness right now, I think the opportunity is genuinely very exciting. But the category is going to reward founders who understand that the product is only one part of the business. You have to understand the shelf, the channel, the consumer behavior, the trust equation, and eventually the distribution engine. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. If you work in health and wellness, are building a brand in this category, or are simply interested in where Indian consumer and e-commerce are headed, I hope this episode gave you a slightly different way of looking at the market. And if you want to go deeper, I've also linked the full EBD deep dive number 4, the health and wellness reset, in the episode description. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to follow e-commerce clearly wherever you listen to our podcast. Until then, keep building, keep experimenting, and keep growing. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.